Speaking about
and money.
decentralization, why don't we shift that conversation back to stake pools?
Yeah.
We were speaking about it in the previous episode, and we were talking about different solutions for pools and whether or not people are going to be using cloud services. You suggested, Old Crypto Geek, that you're going to be using a combination of both, and your own hardware and cloud based solutions. But we have people in the ecosystem, stake pool operators, that believe that you can run pools, all the pools or most of the pools can be running on cloud services, whether that's Amazon or whatever web services that people are using or virtual services that they're using. But it's going to be an existing company that has a certain level of control, and people can argue that that's a sense of centralization within a decentralized network. So, and I was bringing up the point of, when you look at Bitcoin, the argument against Bitcoin is always that there's three mining pools that are controlling most of the hashing power, and you always see that pie chart or that graph that shows exactly what the distribution is. And what's our pie chart going to look like in 2-3 years if most pools are running on Amazon? And do you think that there
Digital.
should be a mix of both?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an interesting question. There's an element of centralization in that it's a point of failure. If everyone's on AWS and AWS got DDoSed, on a massive scale and the whole network went down, that's the point of decentralization, right?
Don't think of it as an unthinkable event. It actually happened in 2011 with Sony. That was running on AVS. It happened like 3 months later due to some errors on the AVS side itself. Last large zone failure happened in EU West, which I think is Ireland, about 6 months ago. So these events happen actually quite often if you look at the importance of AVS or GCE or Azure.
Yeah, I feel, and especially considering the recent CVEs that have come out in the last little while, Heartbleed and sorry, Mark, you probably know the names better than I do, but
yeah, Spectra version 1 and Spectra version 2.
Yeah.
So this is actually
And
the
the
reason why
meltdown.
Meltdown.
yeah. That's the reason why I'm going with ARM architecture, because the mitigations on ARM are just much more efficient.
Yep.
But actually, one thing to point out here, AVS is not susceptible to Spectre attacks because they use a Zen virtualization. And I don't know what there is in the Zen virtualization, but I spoke to a friend who works in like system security auditing, and it's one virtualization that actually works around those vulnerabilities. So, but other cloud operators are susceptible to it. Like if you look at Azure with Hyper-V and so on.
Yeah, and I think one of the threats is if you're running on a cloud service, you have a private key to your stake pool sitting on that computer out there, and if it's vulnerable, someone could get that private key. Your pool's compromised. Is that a legitimate concern?
Yeah, if they use the Spectre vulnerabilities, they could sideload a code into your machine to steal that key from a VM that runs on the same physical machine as your VM runs on.
There you go.
And we have another threat, another point of attack. It's this whole idea of, we live in a very tumultuous political climate all around the world. Leaders don't necessarily understand blockchain. What if it's always ban blockchain one day, then open blockchain the next day. But if the leader has enough power, companies can just shut down complete access to all crypto related projects running on those servers, and then everyone's in trouble. You're not going to be able to get back online until that embargo is up, or whatever company that decides to to, like, if there are presidential orders or whatever leader says stop this, they've got to stop until further information. Yes, exactly. Further notice.
It doesn't even have to be the leader. It could just be their intelligence organizations trying to figure out and say, hey, I wonder how vulnerable that is. Let's go ahead and poke at it and see what happens whenever we poke it.
Exactly.
Can I share
and also corporate and industrial espionage. Corporate and industrial espionage, someone else might say, hey, we don't like them taking our real estate, our financial services and taking it over. So let's attack them. And they'll hire the top guns out there to do it.
Yes.
They don't need to hire the top guns. If some hedge fund's gonna be afraid of a blockchain that runs mostly on AVS, that they are going to steal their business, well, they will short AVS stock until Amazon bankrupts. I mean, they can use that much of a leverage. They can put money here.